In my last video I did about Cadillacs, I talked about this 2002 Eldorado that I picked up out here in Las Vegas. I really love this thing. It's a really cool car. I've been enjoying driving it, but I also talked about in one of my other videos this car, which is the Cadillac XLR. This is a cool convertible. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it today. So yeah, this is a 2006 Cadillac XLR. For those that aren't familiar with the car, it's basically a Corvette. You know, this was the only car built in Bowling Green, Kentucky on the Cadillac, or on the Corvette line. It's not a Corvette. And you could see the Corvette influence on it. It's got a lot of Corvette stuff on it, but they did not use the Corvette engine. They use a Northstar 32 valve motor, not too different than the one that's in there. And it was available also in a V version, a supercharged version, and those go for a lot of money. These typically sell for about 20, 30, 40,000 bucks, depending on the condition and the miles. But there's some things about the car that you want to know if you're going to buy one of these, because they have an electromagnetic shock system. They're real expensive to repair. You know, the shocks can be $600 or $800 a piece, and they're not available anymore. So what you got to do is you got to replace the shocks with regular shocks, and then you got to put in a Casper electronic system that simulates the electronic shocks so that it doesn't freak out the system. So there's a bunch of stuff we got to do to this car to get it up to par, but we're going to check it out. And I've already done some videos about the car a little bit ago. You know, I already replaced this little door opener. There's like a little touchpad that goes under there, just like on a Corvette. And that thing was only like 15 bucks. And it took 2 seconds to change it out. Here's some of the interior. It's black leather. I'm gonna let it air out because it's Vegas and it's hot. But the top works. I did a little video a while back showing how to fix a little thing in the top, and I also did a video on how to put in an adapter to convert your XM radio, where you can Bluetooth your phone into the stereo system, which came in really handy. But we'll demonstrate a little bit of the car, and we'll talk about some of the things we're going to do to it. Okay, this is the key, and you'll notice this Bulgari notation on the key. The key, as well as the gauges, were designed and put together, I guess, by Bulgari. And you know, when I go to the mall here in Vegas, they have stores that sell all their fancy stuff, and so of course these cost a lot of money. I think you can get one of these keys, but they're like $100 bucks. But very nice. And you don't really need to use this key unless you need to remotely open the trunk or something. But the car automatically locks and unlocks whenever you approach it, and you just have to have it in your pocket and press the button and it'll start. Okay, we're gonna hop in this thing and fire it up. Get a foot on the brake, you press the start button, and the car starts up. Now, you didn't get a chance to see this when I started it up, but the headlights are move with the steering wheels when the car is moving, and so you'll see them adjust and calibrate on the wall there. You have a pretty simplistic, you know, let me turn the air conditioner off. There we go, because I don't want to blow on the camera. But you have a pretty simplistic DVD style navigation. There's a tilt thing here that will open, and a DVD disc will go in there, but I don't have the disc. Well, I have a disc. I put a ZZ Top disc in there. You can play this or a video DVD in the disc player. Maybe the navigation goes in there. I think that's what it is. Maybe it goes in there. I forget. I'm still learning this. But you have a pretty basic Cadillac system in here. This little thing covers up if you like. I don't know why you would want to cover up to tilt over. And there's a storage in here. I got some junk. I got some CDs in there. And then there's another storage back here. I don't know what's in there. Nothing's in there. I showed that in another video, but it's a little. So there's like no storage in this thing, like, at all. Got some trash. I should have cleaned it out. Jesus Christ, what a slob. Okay. Let's see, here's some of the controls on the door. You have, now when you open and close the door, the window drops and then goes back up so that it seals properly. Here's something that's crazy about this car. Whenever people get in the car, they're looking around trying to figure out how to open the door. You press that little button. You see this little button here? You press that button and it pops the door open. Now, in case you get stuck, there is an emergency handle you can pull down here that will open the door. And if you don't know that's there, you might get stuck if the battery was dead, but you just have to press this little button. There's a little Velcro held in compartment here. You have your window controls. They work really well. Mirror controls, lock and unlock, which I don't even know what the point of that is, but I didn't close that all the way. Hold on. There we go. Now over here you have your what's called your heads-up display controls. And so I don't know if you can see this in the glass. Let me see here. Maybe I can zoom in. You see that 0 right there? Can you see it? There's like a hologram that floats, you know, like in midair on the windshield. It's pretty. Let me see if I can turn the brightness up a little bit. But anyway, it's pretty cool when you're driving down the road because you have a lot of different indications. This car also has some pretty cool features on it. It has adaptive cruise control. There are sensors, and I don't know if we can even see them. We'll pop out. Look. But on the front of the car, there are radar sensors built into the front bumper here. I guess these are them. Here, yeah. And it can tell how far away it is from another car. So when you set the cruise control, it will automatically follow and slow down. It will slam on the brakes. If the car ahead of you slams on the brakes, your car will slam on the brakes. That's pretty high-tech stuff for 2006. We're used to those kind of, you know, things now. But back then, that was pretty cool. You have this little button here that will open your gas flap. And the other one opens the trunk. Now, this is the craziest trunk you've ever seen. Look at this thing. It goes way up in the air. And it does that because, well, we're going to demonstrate how the top works here in a minute. I got a couple of things laying back here. I talked about this in another video where this has to be in place properly in order for the trunk to operate, or the top to operate. And, you know, while we have that up, let me go ahead and operate the trunk. Now, I wish I had another camera person to sit here and film this thing operating, because it is the craziest thing. Maybe I can just set the camera over here. Hold on. All right, I'm gonna operate the top. You hold down this button here, and this magical origami of how this thing folds itself up and puts itself away is pretty amazing. And once the top is completely down, I mean, you wouldn't even know that this thing is convertible, really, looking at it, because it has real glass and real hard top. And you know, they worked with both Porsche and I think Mercedes and a couple other people to make this super cool top work. Check this thing out. Yeah, once it's all folded up, I mean, look how clean this is. I mean, you can't even tell that there was a roof there. It's like now it's a roadster. I mean, this car is a little rough, but I got this thing super cheap. I mean, these things were probably like, what, 70 grand or something when they were new? And I got this thing super cheap, right? So it needs a little work here and there. But, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, what a cool convertible. It takes kind of a long time to make the top go up and down, but, you know, the payoff, I think, is great. Instead of having a fabric roof with plastic windows or whatever, look how just clean that is. I mean, that is just beautiful. That is art. It really is. I love Cadillacs. Man, they're great. The crazy thing is, even though it's like hot in Vegas, I'll drive around in this thing with the air conditioner on and the top down. I keep this rag handy because I got to clean my glasses all the time. Anyway, this thing is just fantastic. I really enjoy it a lot. And the air conditioner in this thing works fantastic. So I do drive this thing around, you know, just with the top up, windows up, and the air conditioner on. But I tell you, there is just nothing cooler than when the sun starts to go down a little bit, and you've got this beautiful sunset. You drop the top, and you just take it out for ice cream, go get something to eat, go cruise around town. You know, here in Las Vegas, it's so beautiful. Like, hold on a second. Let me show you what I can see right now. I mean, isn't that gorgeous? You know, I just love the golden sunset. I love the palm trees. When I'm coming down my street and I can see the city below. And look, you can see that display I was talking about, it went 4 miles an hour. Let me demonstrate that a little bit more for you. Here's a look at the Bulgari gauges. Very classy. All the basic stuff you would need, like in a Cadillac or in a Corvette. I think it's a classy ride. I like it. All right, so I know it's a little windy because the top is down, but I want to try to demonstrate this cruise. So when I set the cruise, let's say I set it 45, you'll see how it engages there in the windshield. I don't know if you can read that. And it'll maintain the speed, and it'll also let me adjust the follow distance on this gap control. And let's see if it'll show you. And like I said, I'm sorry it's windy because the top is down. But if this car up ahead of me slows down and my foot's not touching the pedals, it'll automatically hit the brakes. Here, let me speed. You know, I'll set the speed at 50 miles an hour, but it won't let me go any faster than this because it's following this car. And I can adjust the gap any way I want. It's pretty interesting. All right, let's see if it's gonna hit the brakes. I'm covering just to make sure. It's slowing down, right? I'm not touching the pedal. It's slamming on the brakes all by itself. Let's see if it comes to a complete stop. I don't know. I didn't trust it. I chickened out to hit the brakes, but it works pretty well. I'm assuming that it'll just bring you to a complete stop all by itself. But I chicken out every time. I'm like, I don't want to take a chance of this thing running into the back of a car. But for general purpose driving, when you're just cruising like on the highway, it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome the way it works. Let's cruise down Sunset. And by the way, it's not like slow. Oh fuck! Calm down, calm down. Now, it's not the LT1 or the LS1 they put in the Corvette. It's the 32 valve North Star. But it is not slow. It's pretty smooth. Matter of fact, look, there's a jet above me. Let's race. I don't know if there's this much fun you can have for this kind of money. You know, I mean, you could buy like a Vanderhall or a Slingshot or another kind of a convertible roadster kind of a thing, but then you're stuck with it being open all the time. This thing has air conditioning. This is a Cadillac. If I feel like I want to put the top up, lock it up, or ride around with the heat on or the air conditioning, I can use it as a regular car, and it doesn't have plastic windows and a fabric top. It's got real hard top, real glass, real doors. It's a real car. And at the push of a button, you could turn it into a roadster like a Viper or something like that. But, you know, when you have like a Miata or you have a Viper or other kind of roadsters, man, they just, they don't have what this car has. And I think for the money, you can't do better than a Cadillac XLR if you enjoy these kind of cars. So, you know, there's a lot of haters out there. They don't like the 32 valve North Star. They're worried about this car because parts are hard to get for it, you know? I've seen headlights and taillights for this thing selling for like $5,000 for new old stock parts. But if you're smart and you know where to shop, you can't get things out of a junkyard. So there's a bunch of stuff that's being done to this car, and we're gonna get into that here in a minute. One of the things you need to remember when you buy one of these is they've got an electromagnetic suspension system. And those shocks are $600 to $800 a piece, but you're not gonna wanna put the original ones back on there. You're gonna wanna replace them with the regular old shocks like you put on a Corvette. Also, that adaptive cruise control system I told you about, well, it relies heavily on your ABS system. You might have to have your ABS module rebuilt, and that might cost you a couple $100. You may have to replace some of your wheel hubs because they're electromagnetic sensors in them, and that'll cost a couple $100. But if you know what you're doing, I mean, if you take it to the Cadillac store, the dealer, they're going to charge you a lot of money for this. If you find somebody who knows how to work on a Corvette, right, they're going to be able to hook you up and fix the car for you and make it as nice as you want it to be. And so that's the plan with this car. For under $15,000, I'm going to have a Cadillac XLR that's going to have new suspension, new tires, cooling system gone through, all the fluids done, everything working perfectly. And I think that's a bargain because there's really not anything you can get for that kind of money that's going to give you this much fun. And I don't care that the car's not perfect. It's going to have some dings and scratches and things on it. It is a salvage title car, but that's fine with me because I just want to enjoy this thing and have fun with it. And that's all that matters. This is really the place to enjoy a car like this. I mean, it's really good anywhere, but none more so than out in California, Las Vegas, and Florida, where the weather is nice. But here we don't have to worry about rain. It rains very little here, and at night the weather's fantastic. I wouldn't want to take this thing out in the middle of the day because, I mean, you would be roasted. So you put the top up and you put the air conditioning on. But at night, oh my God, it is just beautiful out. It is perfect. And the view is amazing. Fantastic. So much fun. This thing handles amazingly. Let's not forget, underneath this Cadillac skin, it's a Corvette. All right, guys, I think we've had enough fun tonight. We're gonna take it and get some new, get some work done on it, get some new tires, all that stuff. So, let's go get some work done on the car. Well, after doing all those repairs and getting it going down the road, we realized it was riding a little lumpy and bumpy, and it had like 4 different tires. The tires were actually in good condition, but each one was a different size and brand. I don't know what was going on. So I came down to Discount Tire where I get all my tires, and we're gonna get some decent tires that belong on a Cadillac XLR or Corvette. I always go with the Michelin Pilots. I think that those are some of the best. They're expensive, but the car's gonna ride a lot better, smoother, and glide along. So let's get it rolling. Just a quick look under here. You can see where we did the rear tie rods, the Bilstein shocks with the new Casper electronics. These are new wheel hubs on here. We didn't do the brakes on the back on the discs, but moving forward, see we got new drilled slotted rotors with the new hubs and the Bilstein shocks. Did some other tie rod replacements. So the car's riding great. It's riding much more like a Corvette than the old XLR Cadillac, a little firmer. However, this is a big improvement and a whole lot cheaper to do. So right now we're getting brand new tires put on and getting balancing done to go with the TPMS sensors. So this thing's gonna ride smooth. It's kind of funny, you can see how the one of the exhaust tips is bent. You know, this car was kind of whacked in the back right corner there a little bit. And, you know, my buddy Michael that did some of the repairs on the car explained to me that what they did is this whole quarter panel back here, they filled it full of expanding foam, basically like great stuff foam to give it shape. Did some fiberglass repair to it, and that's how they kind of put it back together. And you know, listen, it worked. Is it ideal? No, but that's what they did, and it doesn't look too bad. These cars being fiberglass, basically Corvettes, they're repaired the same way, using you know, fiberglass, Bondo, Dynaglass, other epoxies, things like that. And you're really limited on your parts availability for these things. They only made, I think, 15,000 of them over the entire run. So you're kind of limited on what you can get and, you know, what you can do to the car. So the car was salvaged, and that's why I got it so cheap. And that's why I'm willing to put the money I'm putting into it. You know, this car has about 80,000 miles on it. It's coming out really well. So, you know, in the end, I'm gonna have maybe 12, 15,000 tops in the car after I do absolutely everything to it. After I do paint correction and all the different things. But right now, after the repairs that Michael did for it, every single thing is working. All the lights are off the dash, the ABS is working, the adaptive cruise control. We're just getting these wheels done. Once we get a 4-wheel alignment done, the thing is just gonna run and glide perfectly. It's a fantastic car for the money. A lot of these you're gonna go out there and find are gonna be in the $25,000 to $45,000 range. The XLR Vs I see running $75,000. But for the price I paid for this thing, I'm very happy with the car that I got. I've got a really cool roadster I can ride around here in Las Vegas and enjoy. I probably won't ever take it out of town too far. If I go out of town, I'll probably take the Rolls Royce or something like that. But this car is just so fun here. You know, when the sun goes down and it's dusk, there's a sunset, the mountains are glowing orange, palm trees are blowing, you're riding around with that top down. Oh my God, what a feeling. Did both of the rear tie rods on this car. Also rewired these connectors that run to the new wheel hubs. This, you know, there's like an electromagnetic thing in here that detects the rotation of the wheel for the speed control and traction control. These tie rods, these wear out pretty easily and you get a little bit of a wishy-washy thing going on back there, but it came out good. So yeah, for some reason, they had put a different tire. There was like 4 different tires, different sizes. That one's been patched. So that's why I wanted to change them. It's like different tread patterns, different sizes. They're a little lumpy. So now we're rolling these, the Michelin Pilots. These are some of the best wheels. These rims are curved, but whatever. So yeah, that's ready to rock. All right, no lights on the dash. Perfect. Turn that down. Okay. And we're backing up. All right, so just to sum up what we did with the Cadillac XLR. So it's a 2006 XLR. Found it on Facebook Marketplace here in Las Vegas. Bought it for $8,500. The guy was asking $12,000 for it. He had it for sale forever. Nobody wanted to buy it because it had a salvage title. It had been wrecked or repaired, needed some work. Anybody who drove the thing, checked it out, probably realized some of the things that it needed. And I joined some Cadillac XLR forums on Facebook, and this was a smart thing to do because I learned a lot about the car, and I realized there was a bunch of things that we had to take care of, okay? So the ABS wasn't working, traction control wasn't working, and the cruise control wasn't working. So in order to fix that, I had to have the ABS module rebuilt. There's a place that does that. I think it only costs a couple $100, but as preventative maintenance and to make sure that we got all the problems fixed, I went ahead and replaced all of the wheel hubs. Now you can pick up the wheel hubs for this car for like, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks a piece for the cheap ones, but the really good quality, you know, OEM ones are gonna be as much as $300 or $400 a piece. I ended up getting a good deal on some. So I spent some money replacing all the wheel hubs, and the hub is the actual bearing and everything. The reason that's important is there's an electromagnetic sensor in there hooked up to an electrical wire. A lot of times all you have to do is replace that electrical wire that's in the wheel, and that will fix the problem. But I wanted to just make sure that we had everything covered, and since the car already had 80,000 miles, I figured new hub bearings isn't going to hurt the car. So I replaced all the hubs and all the wiring going to the ABS, and rebuilt the ABS module, replaced all the tie rods, replaced all the shocks. Now, the electromagnetic shocks on these cars, you can't get them anymore, really. They're hard to find. Sometimes you find them new old stock or whatever. They can cost you $600 or $800 a piece. You can just put regular old Bilstein shocks. That's what I put on here. They were only a couple $100. But you have to fool the computer into thinking that the electromagnetic shocks are there. There's a company called Casper Electronics. You can find these guys, and they make these little modules that plug in and trick your shocks into thinking, or trick the computer into thinking the shocks are there and working, so that your dash doesn't light up with a bunch of lights freaking out. Another common problem with these cars is this car has two fuel tanks, and one drains out and then the other one drains out, right? Because they have to put a tank on each side because of the way the frame is, right? Well, a lot of times, almost every single one of these cars out there, the fuel gauge doesn't work. And you heard my buddy, the Car Wizard, talk about this when he talked about the Cadillac XLR. And so I had my mechanic, he actually dropped the tank and replaced the cinders and everything, and now my fuel gauges are working and the range is working, and that's working properly now. Also did all the rotors, you know, because you're gonna have to pull the hubs off. You might as well, it's the same amount of work to take the new rotor and put it on as it is to take the old one on. So I went ahead and bought new discs, right? Didn't cost that much money. New discs, new pads, I got brand new brakes, right? Gets all the shaky wobble out, and now I got brand new brakes. After doing all that, of course, you saw me go to Discount Tire, bought brand new tires, $1,000 worth of tires, Michelin Pilots. These are the best. They're a couple $100 a piece with the mount and the balance and everything, and the road hazard. Worth it. These tires will probably last me the life of the car. What else have I done to the car? Oh, in previous videos, you saw that I did a little micro switch fix for the top, and then also put in a Bluetooth adapter that didn't cost me that much money. It was a couple $100. But now my phone automatically syncs to the car, and I don't have to play CDs or just listen to the radio, even though it has XM radio, which I love. I love XM radio, but I already have XM radio on my phone because of all the other XM accounts I have with all my other cars, and I can just sync to my car and listen to whatever tunes I want. So far, the top is working. Every once in a while, when the top needs to go back up, one of the latches is sticking. I'm gonna look into that, and I may do another video about that. Some other small things I did, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the little rubber pads, that, you know, the doors are on a little trigger mechanism. The little rubber pad that you use to open the door, those things are like 15 or 20 bucks. It took 2 seconds. It was 2 screws, then come out, I unplugged it, plugged the new one in. Door's been working perfectly ever since. Oh, we also did some cooling work to the car, replaced the thermostat and flushed the system out. You know, here's the thing. This is a North Star 32 valve aluminum engine. Now, there's been, you can read all about the Chevy, what is this orange coolant called? Here's some right here. This is, you know, the Prestone GMV, the Dex Cool. Now, Dex Cool is supposed to be a lifetime fluid. It isn't. Take my advice on this. If you own a Chevy vehicle that uses the orange coolant, change it often, okay? At least once a year. Because the thing about it is, I ain't got time to go into the whole cooling system and dissimilar metals and how aluminum corrodes, but just trust me on this. Change your Dex Cool at least once a year, once every other year. It's not a lifetime fluid. Because one of the things I've learned about my vehicles, I take care of, you know, my Ford Excursion truck, which has hundreds of thousands of miles on it, and I have a big fleet of vehicles. One of the things I've learned is just changing the fluids, all of them. Change your power steering fluid, change your brake fluid, change your radiator fluid, change your transmission fluid, as long as it's not burnt. That could be a dangerous thing, so be careful. And change your oil. But if you keep all these things changed over the life of the vehicle, you'll find that it will last. It will literally last forever, because you're keeping all the seals and all the things nice and clean, and you're not getting a bunch of buildup of deposits that's coming through the engine. So anyway, I don't have time to go through a whole video about why I think you need to change these things, but the point is that's what we did on this car. So with all my parts and what my mechanic charged me, and with the new tires, I'm about 3,500 bucks into the car on top of what I paid for it. All right. So let's do my quick math. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got $12,000 into this car, right? Now, there's no way I would have been able to go out and buy a Cadillac XLR for $12,000 that has brand new tires, brand new brakes, brand new shocks, brand new, right? It's not gonna happen. And this has always been the thing about my channel that I've liked to stress, is that I like to buy cars that need a little love. Like, for instance, my Rolls-Royce Phantom that I featured in some of my other videos. You can take a car like this and you can go ahead and do it right and put some money into it, and you will end up with a much better car than if I had gone out and bought a $25,000 version of the same car, right? It still wouldn't have new shocks, new brakes, new tires, blah, 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 blah. It might have lower miles, but that means that car still needs all those things. It's just in slightly better condition. I could still repaint this car and buy brand new wheels and do whatever I want to it, and I'll still be under what I would have paid if I went out and bought a $25,000 version of this car. And this is how I have a fleet of cool cars like these that don't cost that much money. So if you watch channels like mine, and you watch my buddy Tyler Hoover with Hoovie's Garage, and you watch my buddy, the night lights just came on. You watch my buddy Freddie Tavares on Tavares' channel, who wrenches every day, and of course the Car Wizard, and all the people that are in our YouTube family, you'll see that really the way to live your car dreams on a budget and not have broken down cars that just have boxes piled up on top of them in the garage, but actually be able to get it and drive in it, is to do these type of things and to be smart with your money. And that's what the point of this channel is, and that's why I like to share these things. You know, there's people out there that'll hate on this car, and they'll say, oh, the paint's crap or whatever. I'm driving around in a cool Cadillac XLR convertible, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. And this is how I have these cool cars. If you're interested in this 2002 Cadillac Eldorado, one of the last of the Eldorados they ever made, you can go back and see one of the videos that I posted just recently. But anyway, this is sort of a recap on this thing. If you've always wanted one of these, I know Car Wizard, you keep saying that you want one, you should do it. I love this thing. I did not realize how much I was going to love this car. I said in another video that I was going to buy it and part it out because people are selling the headlights and the taillights and the parts to these vehicles for, like, you know, crazy money. So just keep in mind, probably not a good idea to buy one that is wrecked. Okay? The parts that I bought for this car are just standard Corvette parts for the most part. And even some of the Cadillac engine parts are still some of the same things that run on this car over here. Okay? But if you need a body part or headlight or whatever, that's where it gets into trouble. So if you find one that's been wrecked, that's a salvage, if you're gonna need to buy certain components that you can't just fix with Bondo and fiberglass and paint, you might want to be careful. On this particular car, they only made something like, I don't know, 15,000 of these things. There's a lot of history of these. They're made on the Corvette line of Bowling Green. And, you know, there's probably Corvette guys out there going, you can call it a Corvette, that's not a Corvette. And you're right, it's not a Corvette. It's just like people call my Rolls-Royce Phantom a BMW. They go, it's just a BMW, whatever. It's just an overpriced BMW. Well, let me tell you something about my overpriced BMW. I take my overpriced BMW to Caesar's Palace, and they park it at the front door, and they put your BMW in the garage. And when I come out, the valet, my Rolls-Royce Phantom is parked at the front door, and your BMW is in the garage. Well, this car, you're right, it's not a Corvette. You know why? Because this car will continue to go up in value, and whereas a Corvette will depreciate down to nothing where it's worth a couple of $1,000, this car will continue to be a collector's item and has features on it that a Corvette does not have. It's got style, it's got sophistication, and I think that this is going to be one of those cars that'll be a highly collectible car in the future. Maybe not this one, but the ones that are survivors, I think are going to be one of those cars that are worth a lot of money in the future. I could be wrong, but I think it will. I think this is a museum quality type of Cadillac. In my opinion, it's going to go down in Cadillac history, not as being the dog that people try to make it out to be, because it's just not fair to compare this thing to certain Corvettes or other cars. It's not slow, but not every car is meant to be a supercar. Sometimes they're just meant to be fun, and that's what this thing is. I have a blast every time I drive this car. Super happy I bought it. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you got a little bit of something out of this, and I hope you too get to live your dreams and have the cars that you want. Hey, more cool car videos coming up. Hope you subscribe. Thanks for watching.